is up, everyone? Welcome to the Optimus Fantasy Football YouTube channel. We are here, week 15. If you are watching us, you probably made the playoffs. So first of all, I want to say congratulations, Mike. I finally got booted from Scott Fishbowl this week.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it happens. It's just one of those weeks. I also got booted from King's Classic.
Oh, that sucks too.
Yeah, I lost by 10 points to Theo over there from Player Profiler and Fast Draft. Theo Greminger. You know, if I'm going to lose and get booted by somebody, I'm glad it was Theo. Good dude. Hell of a player, too.
You're not playing against anybody who's horrible over there either, right?
No.
The same with like the Scott Fishbowl. It's not like you're playing against people who are just horrible and you're like, oh, man, sucks.
Well, my Friday Q&A co-host is in the top 25. Mr. Keith Fleming, so I'm really thrilled for him.
That's awesome.
Great news for him. Yeah, man, I'm really thrilled. Before we get into this week 15 waiver wire, Mike, I want to get to the chat here. We got a bunch of questions that came in earlier today. We've got JMoney 201092. Hey guys, what do we think about dropping Isaiah Davis for McCormick or Patrick Taylor? His running backs currently, he's got Tyrone Tracy, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, Rico Dowdle, and Bucky Irving. This is half PPR, Mike.
Yeah, I say do it. There's your best splitting time in New Jersey, and we don't know if they'll play Breece Hall yet or not this coming week. So I think McCormick probably preference, and then Patrick Taylor second there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We kind of talked about this a little bit before the show. Yeah. McCormick's the guy I'd want to go with too. I feel like there's more opportunity for volume in that offense, especially with Aiden O'Connell, your quarterback. And we never know what Kyle Shanahan's going to do. And if Isaac Guerrero plays, Patrick Taylor's SOL. I really feel like we're only talking about him because he got the touchdown. So I'm with you here. So it's McCormick for us there. And then we've got one more. Also, what do we think about the Arizona defense? Should he drop them this week for Denver, Atlanta, Washington, or the Jets, or just roll with that Arizona defense? It's been really good this year.
So one of our sleepers is the Commanders, by the way.
Yes.
For the streamers. The Arizona defense has been really good. They have a really good matchup this week, so I'm not afraid to play them. I have them in leagues where I will be playing them this week. If I was going to drop them out of who you have listed there, it would be Denver or Washington because of the matchup and because Denver's been good all year, right? Like Denver's just one of the top defenses. That's the way I would go.
Denver's a no-brainer for me. They just have been the best defense in the league all season. But I don't know that I would be willing to drop Arizona for them. I mean, they've got KC. Week 17, I believe it is. Denver's got a little bit tougher of a schedule the rest of the way. So
championship week is tough for the Cardinals, but the next two are fairly simple. So I don't know. I if you want to make a move just to make a move, sure. I might lean Washington and or Denver there. I'm playing the Cardinals where I have them this week, though, and not going past that. I know they scored 0 points last week. I thought they'd be better than that, but they've consistently been scoring double-digit points prior to that. So it's and that was more their offense's fault than their defense's fault.
Well, and I don't hate Washington either.
No,
I read something today. It was like, well, Derek Carr could play. So he's
not playing.
He's not playing. He just broke his freaking hand. Even if he doesn't have surgery, he's not playing. So it's either going to be Jake Haener or Spencer Rattler. We saw how Rattler went. So, yeah, I don't hate that one either. We got this one from Aaron Hudson. He wants to know, Kaime Fairbairn, and Justin Tucker were dropped last week due to bye weeks. Ooh. I've been streaming kicker all year. Which do you think would be a better pickup rest of season? It's 3 points for a field goal, 4 for 40 plus, 5 for 50 plus, 6 for 60 plus.
I'm leaning Fairbairn, but
I'm leaning Fairbairn. He's been a little bit more accurate. I feel like Justin Tucker's kind of fallen apart. I mean, I think he's the same age I am, so it makes sense.
Is he that old?
That's a good question, Mike. And now I have to know how old Justin Tucker is.
It's just consistently younger than me, but that doesn't make me know.
Justin Tucker's 7 years younger than me. He has no excuse here. He's
Right now,
five.
Fairbank's the second highest scoring kicker in the league. He's the one I would want.
Yep, I've been rolling Fairbairn a lot. Streaming, not streaming. Where I've drafted him, I've kept him. So he also wants to know, Aaron does, which defense would you stream or grab rest of season? Available are the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Jets, the Packers, and the Falcons.
Oof, that's a tough one.
You know, I'm probably gonna say I'm gonna say Green Bay. They've got Seattle, New Orleans, and Minnesota for the fantasy playoffs. Don't love the Minnesota matchup in week 17.
But the first two will get you there. Yeah.
The first two will get you there. And if you need to make a change in week 17, you probably can. But you also might be able to roll the Packers out in week 17. I mean, this is a division game that means a lot. This defense will probably step up a little bit.
I like the Packers too out of that because of that.
Yeah.
I had to go look too because I was looking to see who they play next week, which is New Orleans. And with Derek Carr probably done for the year, makes that an easy play.
Yep. All right. Aaron Hudson's got one more for us, Mike. This is PPR. He needs two. It's a wide receiver and a flex between this grouping here. Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Malik Neighbors, Jameson Williams, Najee Harris.
Well, I'm playing Tyreek Hill right now because the past 2 weeks he's been getting the ball from Tua, so it's hard for me to want to sit him out of this group. I wasn't prepared for this one. Rams are playing San Francisco, so I think I'm going to head into Evans here then as my other play, the first two, Evans and Hill, and pass on the DK. I don't trust at all, by the way, out of this group.
I don't either.
And just go with
flex?
those two.
I'm probably going.
Najee. I mean, he's getting volume. It's hard for.
I was gonna say Najee is probably who I'd flex, and I'm with you on the wide receivers.
Najee has a tough matchup too. It's Philadelphia, but he's scoring in double digits against tough matchups too. He's probably going to get you 10 to 12 points. If not Najee, if you don't like that Aaron, I would go JSN out of this group just because his upside's higher. I have DK in a lot of places, and I'm not playing him anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with JSN's the wide receiver one in that Seattle offense. It's hard to want to start DK. There were a couple situations on Sunday where I had to advise people to start DK, but really, if you can stay off of him, I'm with you. And then Tua or Baker this week, Mike?
Oh, this one's tough. I have the same dilemma.
It's tough.
And I've been just rolling out Baker because he gets 2 touchdowns every week, right? Like it's a no-brainer. Tua's been on fire lately, though. So
the matchup against Houston makes me nervous. That's where I'm leaning Baker.
I'm staying Baker where I have the two just because I've just been riding Baker the whole way and it's working.
Yep. No, I love that. Tyler Sperry in the chat wants to know if we've heard any news on Kenneth Walker. I've not heard if he practiced today. I don't believe he was expected to. I wouldn't be surprised to see him shut down for at least the next couple of weeks.
I'm hoping for it for 2 reasons. One, he gets healthy, and the other is I have a lot of Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, same.
I've had him on my bench all season on a couple of teams. So Walker was pretty much playing dinged up most of the season, right? So they should probably shut him down for another week at least and let him rest.
You might as well.
Huge usage when he's playing.
Well, Seattle could make the playoffs. There's scenarios in which they could get in. And if they do, they're going to want Kenneth Walker healthy for that run. Why waste it now when Charbonnet is playing more than adequately to get you out of this? We've got Toronto Dave in the chat. The party emoji as always. Dave, thanks for tuning in. We always appreciate it. And with that, guys, let's get into these waiver wire players that we've talked about. Some of these guys here. We're going to start, of course, at quarterback. At the top of our list, we've got Jameis Winston over there in Cleveland, 34% rostered on Yahoo, 19% on ESPN. Then down the line, we've got Aaron Rodgers, 34 on Yahoo, 39 on ESPN. Russell Wilson, 36 on Yahoo, 55 on ESPN. Then the last two here, we've got Bryce Young and Drew Lock, kind of maybe more of emergency options here this week on the waiver wire. Who is your number one grab out of these five guys this week, Mike?
It's Winston. Just because it doesn't matter who he's playing. He has multiple touchdowns in 4 out of 6 starts. He has at least 1 touchdown in every single start. He's gonna sling it. They're playing Kansas City, so I think he's gonna have to throw it as well, by the way. So he's the guy I want. I actually played him this past week. I'll be playing him this week as well in multiple leagues.
You can't argue with that. He's throwing a ton no matter what. Against Kansas City, they're going to have to throw a ton. They're the 12th worst offense against quarterbacks right now in fantasy. Winston is, for me, he's the no-brainer this week. Russell Wilson is a guy I like too. Pittsburgh is rolling. He's not playing phenomenal.
No, he's solid. And the fear with Wilson is, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I think, when we were saying he was a great play, was that if they get up, they don't need to throw. Their defense is really good. They'll run the ball. He's not a 300 yards, 3 touchdown kind of guy for them to win. That's not what Pittsburgh needs to win.
Right. Well, the good news is here's their next 3 games: at Philadelphia, at Baltimore, and Kansas City at home. So those are 3 games where Pittsburgh's going to have to score. They can throw against Baltimore. They can throw against Kansas City. Philly might be a little bit tougher, but they're going to have to if they want a chance to stay in that game. And they've done it successfully. So I don't hate Russell Wilson. Jameis Winston, though, like I said, he's my number one. Aaron Rodgers playing decently.
I don't trust him. He's got a great matchup this week against the Jaguars, right? That's why I threw him in here. And he wasn't bad this past week. He just seems to be a guy where if I'm daring enough to play him, he sucks. And when I'm like totally brushed off him and want no part of him, he has a good game. I mean, Jacksonville's a nice matchup. And next week he has the Rams. So they're both bottom 10 against defending quarterbacks in the pass. So, I mean, if you're desperate, you shouldn't be if you're in the playoffs at quarterback. But if you were, Rodgers has 2 nice matchups at least, and then he has to play Buffalo,
you don't want that.
You don't want that.
No, and that's in the fantasy championships. Unless your league sadistic and goes to week 18, I've got one of those. It's a week 17 and week 18 championship, which it is what it is. I hate it. The league shouldn't do that. Now let's talk about the 2 younger guys, Bryce Young and Drew Lock. Bryce Young's been playing much better of late, almost engineering a game-winning drive, I would like to point out, last week, which, wow. This Carolina team's just playing so much better.
The offensive line is. They look like they're gelling, right? So Hubbard's been playing great all season. Adam Thielen has really helped the wide receiver group a lot. And Bryce Young has been solid. Plus, he's got 2 nice matchups over the next 3 weeks. Right? Like 2 really nice matchups. He has
Dallas and Arizona at home, and then
Arizona's tough, but he has Dallas, who gives up the 4th most fantasy points to quarterbacks, week 15, and week 17 Tampa Bay, who gives up the most. So he's not bad. If you had 2 quarterback league, right? Like guys like Bryce Young and Drew Lock are guys I would be thinking about. I'm not saying I would definitely plug them in, but I wouldn't be as afraid as you think you might be, right? Like I don't trust Drew Lock a hell of a lot, but he can get you 15 fantasy points.
He can easily get you 15, and then he's got Baltimore, Atlanta, and Indy for his last 3 games. Those are some pretty soft matchups.
He's got 3 super easy matchups the rest of the way. So it's,
the opportunity for him to be a top 20 fantasy quarterback is there. We're not saying go out and get him in 1 QB leagues, but 2 QB, I'd be firing him up.
I wouldn't be afraid to, right? At all. Or DFS either. I think he's going to be solid.
Yeah. No, he's a play for me this week. Let's move on to running backs. This is where it gets a little murky, and it has been this entire season. I want to talk about the first two players that we already brought these guys up. Sincere McCormick over in Las Vegas, 16% rostered on Yahoo, 11% on ESPN. And then Patrick Taylor in San Francisco, the heir apparent, because Jordan Mason and CMC are done for the year. 6% rostered on Yahoo, 4% on ESPN. Patrick Taylor is the most widely available one. He's the one that people are drooling over right now because, again, Jordan Mason, CMC, they're both done for the year. How are you feeling about Patrick Taylor?
I mean, there's a reason he's like the fifth running back on the team. I know he scored a touchdown. That's something we talked about prior to the show starting, right?
Yeah.
Like that's probably why everybody's in on him. He's not bad.
No.
And I'm sure I will add him in places, right? Like I almost guarantee you that. But I don't know. I'd probably rather have Bigsby or McCormick over him.
Let's talk about that then. Sincere McCormick over in Las Vegas. The last 2 weeks, he has a total of 27 carries, almost 150 total yards rushing in those games. He hasn't scored a touchdown. 3 targets and 2 targets in the passing game in this offense. Zamir White is a ghost. I don't even know if he's still on the team. Joking. Alexander Madison's hurt. Amir Abdullah's meh. He's just a guy. Sincere McCormick seems like a guy.
Cut the snaps down for Abdullah big time this week after last week, right? So McCormick played over 60% of the snaps. I think it was 63%. He had a total of 89 yards. No touchdown, but he was productive.
Yeah.
The matchup's not ideal this week, but you take what you can get if you need a running back.
Well, Atlanta in week 15, then you've got Jacksonville 16, New Orleans week 17. So those aren't terrible. Now let's move over to Tank Bigsby, because this is one where we talked about this again pre-show. He's so hard to trust because he has these big boom weeks. Last week was one of them, 18 carries for 55 yards. Not as efficient as you'd like, but a touchdown.
Yeah.
Is Travis Etienne, I can't trust him. Tank Bigsby I can't trust, but maybe I can trust him. Tell me what to do with Tank Bigsby, Mike.
He's the one I probably think I'm looking to add the most. And it has to do with he led the team in snaps and touches, right? Last game, which that's what makes me like him. But
Sure.
He's kind of game script dependent, right? But
sure.
I have a league that's got some pretty strange scoring in it, and some of it has to do with carries and volume of carries. I'm trying actively. I want to add Tank Bigsby in that league. The fear is if they get behind, they don't really use him in the passing game at all. He had 1 catch for 7 yards in this last game. Now, if he's still getting like 65% of the snaps and he owns that, yeah, he's going to be probably your best pickup the rest of the way because he is got some boom, right? When he gets the ball, he really does. They've been talking about working him into the lineup for his entire career, right? What's it, 2 seasons now? And they're finally doing it. So, I'm hoping they want to see what they have in him because their season's really almost over. And
they're dead in the water. Mac Jones is their quarterback rest away. And the matchups, the Jets, the Raiders, the Titans, weeks 15, 16, 17. These are games that this team can be in. I'm not saying I think that they necessarily win any of these or even one of these, but they're games that they can stay in. They can stay in it against the Jets.
They shouldn't get blown out. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can see plenty of Tank Bigsby in these matchups. It wouldn't surprise me much. Now, the rest of the waiver wire, we got Jaleel McLaughlin in Denver, Mike, who we've talked about. It's really hard to know who you can possibly trust in this Denver offense. Right now, he's 13% rostered on Yahoo, 15% rostered on ESPN. Is he worth a flyer rest away if you've got a bench spot at least?
I think so. 2 weeks ago we talked about him. They had the bye this past week. and he was one of the only running backs you could potentially added that week because we didn't run into this rash of running back injuries until this week. I think they're going to use him in the passing game more. We'll see. I like Jaleel McLaughlin. He can produce. If I couldn't get one of those other guys, I'm not afraid to add someone like him or Tyler Algier, although we know both of them may get just phased out in a game, both of those guys, right? Like that's just
We've
how it
seen
is.
it happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
over and over.
Algier turning 9 carries into 63 yards and a touchdown is not normal in this season. They do have Vegas, the Giants, and then the Commanders in Week 17. Don't like that matchup for Algier at all.
Yeah, I view as when somebody calls him as a great play, like in DFS, and he hits and they victory lap it. I'm like, dude, you just got lucky.
You got lucky.
Just got lucky.
Yeah.
There's nothing that tells me Algier is going to produce or not produce on a weekly basis. Like,
no, it's a fluke. Either way, it's a fluke. And I feel the same way about Isaiah Davis. Last guy on the list here. Do we have any idea what the Jets are doing? No. Should you have any part of their backfield?
If Breece Hall is healthy enough, I think they're going to run him out there. I don't think they should, but I think they will.
Well, this isn't a smart organization. They've proven that.
They want to keep their jobs, and they won't keep their jobs if they're losing. Right?
No, they won't. All right, Mike, let's get to some questions here in the chat before we move on to the wide receivers. First, we've got Riggs Tamburo over there on X. Pittsburgh upsets KC on Christmas Day. That would be a magical Christmas present for me. That would make me very happy. My father-in-law will be here. He's a Browns fan. He's from Cleveland. So it might not make his Christmas so much. Oh, well. Jason Mick over on YouTube wants to know Winston or Knicks this week, Mike.
Winston.
By a hair for me, but Winston. More upside. Greg Kellogg, one of the first inductees into the Fantasy Sports Writers Hall of Fame. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. We appreciate it. Love this. He's sharing it. Greg did 3 hours with us on the launch podathon back in July. He's only supposed to do 15 minutes. He's having so much fun. Stuck around with Bob Harris, Jim Coventry, and a handful of other people. So that was just a blast. We've got Cap for Life dropping in to let us know 2 leagues, both first round buys, playoff bound. Thanks for your help this season, guys. Good luck, everyone. I just love that.
Congratulations.
We had a couple people on Reddit thank us for stuff, and we'd help them really get into the playoffs. And one guy was his first season playing, and that's what we're here for. We love that. And if you're here watching us, guys, we would love it if you would like this video and subscribe to the Optimus Fantasy Football channel. We have 5 shows a week to guide you through, and hopefully you're in the playoffs. And if not, check Mike and I out on Friday for DFS Live. You can still play and still win some money this weekend. Now we've got Nell L Gaming needs to know Dell, Debo, or Elijah Moore. It's a 3 wide receiver league. He's got JSN and London locked in. Who of those 3 are you playing? This is real tough.
So right now, I would say Elijah Moore, Debo, then Dell. That's how I would order them. Now, we might know a little bit more as the week goes on in regards to what the plans are in San Francisco. If they're going to give Debo like the ball to carry 10 times, and we have an inkling of that, I might lean more Debo here. But, I mean, Cedric Tillman might still not be coming back, and Elijah Moore is every other game seeing like 12 targets. And he didn't last game, which means he will again next game.
Yeah. The every other rule here. Mr. Magic wants to know.
Things I make fun of,
No, but it's fair. It was like Jonnu Smith a couple years ago, and it's like, oh, he's going to be so great. It's every other week. I don't know when to play him. Yeah. Mr. Magic Mike wants to know, got the bye and wondering which QB to play out of Stafford, Darnold, and Purdy. Ooh. Nice. This week, I'm going to ride the hot hand with Sam Darnold. He's been playing so well. I like the matchup for Minnesota a little bit better this week as well. So I think that's the direction I'd go is Darnold.
I would second that and go Stafford as the close second option. And I really like Purdy, so it's hard for me to say not him. But Stafford is just producing regularly, even in tough situations.
Yeah.
I sat him myself this past week because it was a tough matchup and sat there kicking myself the whole time.
Yep. That'll happen. All right, one more for Mr. Magic. Who do you like for week 16, 17 if I make it to the final? The Chargers or the Colts defense?
The Chargers.
Chargers. They're just a much all-around better unit.
Believe it or not, I added them 2 weeks ago in a team I have that's in first place because all the higher ranked defenses were taken. And I'm just letting them play the rest of the way through because they're producing.
Yep. Those Jim Harbaugh defenses, that Harbaugh family.
They weren't producing early on in the season, but they have been as of late, like 7, 8, 10, 11 points every single week. So
you can see the influence of Jim Harbaugh on this whole team now. It's really kind of like melted in. Let's melt in though to some wide receivers, Mike. This group,
they're kind of icky this week, but
it is. The first one we'll talk about, we've already talked about him a bit here. It's Elijah Moore, 22% rostered on Yahoo, 23% rostered on ESPN. Like we were talking about, Mike, it's up and down. Week
up and down.
11, 8 targets. Week 12, 5 targets. Then week 13 against Denver, 14 targets. This past week against Pittsburgh, he had 4. So
it's a roller coaster. But
right. This week, if you follow the roller coaster rule here against Kansas City, he should have a good week. Do you think that will actually happen?
I don't know. If you follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky, you'll notice that I make fun of simple correlations all the time. This is one of them, and that's why I jokingly said it's up and down every other week. It's like a roller coaster. This should be the up week. He has a high ceiling because of that potential to see 14 targets. This week, I think they're going to throw the ball a lot because it's Kansas City. So, yeah, I'm interested in adding him if I needed to play a wide receiver.
Yeah, I am a big fan of Elijah Moore in this matchup. Kansas City's middle of the road against wide receivers. They're going to have to contend with Jerry Jeudy. This is a situation where maybe Elijah Moore gets lost in the mix here a little bit, and he kind of breaks some coverage and touchdown, maybe like 70, 80 yards. I could see it in this matchup. It wouldn't surprise me that much. Now, the next guy I want to talk about, Ray McCloud. He seems to be the most relevant with this Atlanta offense, and he pops in sometimes, and 18% rostered on Yahoo, 12% on ESPN. So here's my question. Anytime now, the rest of season, when we're talking about an Atlanta player, I think we have to talk about, are we going to see Michael Penix behind center anytime soon?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I know Ray also had double-digit targets this week. So they had a nice matchup. He produced pretty well. And what would you consider him, like a wide receiver 3? Pretty much,
yeah.
Right? 3/4.
We'll give him 3/4.
Yeah, there's production there every week. He's not going to score 20 fantasy points, but he has a floor that's probably better than the other guys we're talking about at wide receiver this week. Again, if you're needy, right? He's somebody you can play and at least get something out of. That's how I was looking at that.
Yeah, he's got 10 plus points the last 3 weeks, 4 out of the last 5 games. He had 11 targets last week. We're probably not going to see that kind of production again. It's his best of the season.
I thought Drake London was going to have an explosive game this week.
We all did.
And they pretty much spread the ball around, right? So
they went to Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now let's talk about Tim Patrick, the other guy on this list. Had a breakout game against Green Bay, 6 catches, 43 yards, but 2 touchdowns. I accidentally stacked him with Jared Goff in a league, which that played really well for me. I was very happy about that. But do you think he can? Is this a trend or is this a fluke with Patrick?
We don't know, right? It's one game, so it can't be a trend yet. He could get production. Goff has done a great job of spreading the ball around this year, though. I mean, you have to look at Amon-Ra St. Brown did not have a good game this week, right? Tim Patrick did. They're spreading the ball around a little bit more in that passing offense, so I wouldn't count on it. I mean, he's not at the top of my list of guys to add. I have him here because he had 2 touchdowns, right? Yeah. The same with the next guy, right? Not at the top of my list.
Yeah, Jalen McMillan's the next guy. 2 touchdowns. I had to emergency start him. Didn't save me. 21 PPR points last week. 7 targets, which was his second highest total of the season.
Yeah.
They've got the Chargers, the Cowboys, and then Carolina in week 17. Maybe week 17 he's worth a stream, but he's not a guy I'm clamoring to add now unless I am seriously screwed at wide receiver.
It sounds bad, but if Bucky's out, Rashad White is going to become like the league-winning type of running back. Not Jalen McMillan isn't going to be like a league-winning wide receiver. You know what I mean? Like it's
No, it doesn't make the majority of the volume is going to always go to Mike Evans in that offense. If anyone else produces in the wide receiver room, it's either Chris Godwin or it's a fluke. And that's just kind of the way of it. We thought, maybe Sterling Shepard's going to see some volume in this offense. He's seen a couple of targets. He's not somebody we've talked about at all. When you're in an offense with guys like Mike Evans and Cade Otton, you have to hope that maybe you're going to get some targets. And for fantasy, you really can't start these guys.
No. And it's fluky who gets the touchdowns, right? Like as everybody always says in fantasy, right? You shouldn't chase the touchdowns for the most part, and you really shouldn't with either one of those two guys at wide receiver because the odds of them getting 2 touchdowns again is slim. It's like the floor fell off of Marcus Valdez-Scantling.
Yes.
Well, and now Derek, we knew it would eventually, right? But it finally fell off. Yeah.
And you had to ride those guys until the wheels fall off. That's just kind of the rule here. I did. Let's move over to tight ends. These are guys that you ride for 1 week, and then the wheels usually do fall off, and you start over. But with these guys, so for the first one I want to talk about, Hunter Henry. He's a guy we've talked about every single freaking week this season. He's just
never gone over
50%.
Never gone over 50% rostership in Yahoo all season.
He's at 40% now, 57% on ESPN. I get people dropped him because it was a bye week last week. Last 3 games, 9 targets, 8 targets, and 9 targets. His floor is 10 points every week in PPR.
He leads the Patriots in targets. He leads the Patriots in receptions. He leads the Patriots in receiving yards. Not that that's good, because it's not that good, right? What's keeping him, I would say, out of being a more productive tight end is he has no touchdowns this year. None.
It's a real Jacoby Myers situation.
Yep.
Yeah. I think he'll get one. They've got Arizona, Buffalo, and then the Chargers. They're not phenomenal matchups, but we're hoping.
The other tight end from the same team that I listed here, Austin Hooper, is the guy getting the touchdowns, and he's only seen 4 or 5 targets every week, but he seems to get a touchdown.
Isn't that the funny thing? Hooper's got 3 of them this season. The last 2 games, he's got a touchdown. I'm honestly, let's say if you're looking for a tight end and you've got a flex slot you're looking to fill this week, I would grab both of them. One for the volume, one for the touchdown potential.
I'm not afraid to play either one of those guys this week. No, I'm not.
Nope.
I didn't throw Noah Gray in my list here for you, but he's another guy I wouldn't be afraid of adding.
Me either.
They have a good matchup too, the Chiefs. I thought about it afterwards. I was like, what about Noah Gray? Oh, we should probably at least mention him.
Well, here we are. I like Noah Gray. Didn't think we were going to be talking about him.
No, neither did I. I don't know what his rostership is anywhere, but it's not.
I'm just saying this season in general. I didn't think we'd be talking about him. He's 25% rostered on Sleeper, so from that you can pretty much ascertain he's probably around 10 to 12% rostered. Yeah, somewhere around there. For a guy who's seen no less than 4 targets since week 11, he's got 4 touchdowns. He didn't get 4 catches, 26 yards last week against the Chargers. There are going to be games, and you're going to start him with he could suck.
Boomy busty as well. Yeah.
Yep. But at tight end, Grant Calcaterra is the last guy we're talking about here. He's boom bust too. We're talking about him because Dallas Goedert's out.
That's right.
We were all really excited about him. He got the touchdown, but he only had 3 targets last week.
Yeah, and 1 catch, right? So he hasn't been bad the last 2 games, but I mean, the volume may or may not be there for him as well.
Yeah. People were talking about him like he was a smash start.
I know.
last
I know
week,
they
and
were. And
he was
I
a great.
had him on my list as a moneymaker because of the situation, but I didn't write him up. I just listed him in his prices. He was in my second group. Um, and that's why he's down the end here. Hunter Henry, if I needed a tight end, is a guy I would start
Yeah,
and play with confidence that his floor is going to stay at least the same, right? So that's
he's the only one I can completely, wholly, unequivocally trust here. Now, guys, we can't trust. Let's move over to that fun part of the show, the drops. The guys that you are just get rid of them this week. If you're looking to pick up one of these players, you've got one of these guys on your roster, you can drop them now. As we already talked about, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is droppable, especially with Derek Carr out. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason, those guys are done for the fantasy season. You can't use them. Kareem Hunt is droppable. Xavier Worthy, Kyle Pitts, Romo Dunze, guys we've been telling you for a few weeks now. Get them off of your roster. They are cloggers.
Yeah, I know Odunze had 2 touchdowns this week. Come on, that's
Fluke.
not going to happen. Yeah.
It's a fluke. If you're in Dynasty and you could trade Romo Dunze now and you're a contender and you need parts and pieces, move Romo Dunze today. Yes, I would move him right now. I don't have a lot of faith in him long term, if I'm being honest.
We'll
see.
People got mad at me because I said he was the third option in that offense, and as the season's worn on, he's been the third option over the whole season in the offense, and that's with guys like Keenan Allen getting hurt and coming back and still passing him in target share.
Yep.
It doesn't mean he's not good, but Caleb Williams doesn't look really ready yet either. So it's, they have some growing to do, those Chicago.
Yep. Shocking, a USC quarterback wasn't ready right out of the gate. It's almost like you're telling me that Ohio State quarterbacks aren't good in the NFL either. Oh, when we have a good laugh here. The last one we're going to talk about. Now, Deebo Samuel was approaching droppable. I want to see what happens in the San Francisco backfield this week if Guerrero doesn't play.
I probably have him on 6 teams out of my 16 leagues. He's one of my more highly rostered players, Deebo. I have not dropped him, but I'm not playing him. He's been on my bench for weeks, and he's like holding a bench spot hostage right now, and I kind of hate that myself, but
I'm never a fan of it, but also you look at like when he has a blow-up game, and if he starts to see more involvement in this offense, you're going to be really mad if you dropped him.
I know, especially if somebody uses him against you in the playoffs. That's how it always works.
Oh, right? No. Yeah, no. We cannot have that. What we can have, though, are a few streaming options for defenses for you guys this week here to hopefully get you to round 2 of the playoffs. The first one we're going to talk about here, the Commanders defense. We already talked about this one earlier. They're up against New Orleans. It's going to be Hainer or it's going to be Rattler, and it's going to be ugly on the New Orleans side.
Yeah, either way, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
They have Taysom Hill's done. Chris Olave's done. Derek Carr's done. I mean, their offense is at least they got some of their offensive line players back. Maybe they'll just run Kamara and Miller relentlessly to try to stay in the game, but the Commanders are a good streamer this week.
I know the Atlanta Falcons you've got on here. They're up against Las Vegas. This just makes, again,
another team where everybody keeps getting hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, what are you going to do? This is a team that I'm targeting, and we'll target them in DFS on defense rest of season as well. Just you have to. It's not that Atlanta's that good. It's just that this is a great matchup.
It's and the last matchup.
Literally.
Least favorite of the 3 for me. I even like the next one more, and they're not a great defense either.
Well, the Cincinnati Bengals are the number 29 defense in fantasy this season.
Yep.
This is the next one we're going to talk about. This is why they're available on the waiver wire. They are at the Tennessee Titans this week. I don't know if you aren't living under a rock or in some sort of cave, you know how absolutely putrid this Tennessee offense is. Will Levis he can't get out of his own way. He's
like the most fantasy points to opposing teams' defenses. It's been that way almost all season. Even when Levis got better, they just can't seem to leave that spot.
Nope. Tennessee is a team that's going to need a massive overhaul this offseason.
Oh, their defense is not good, but the
No.
Titans are not good either. I would have thrown the Cardinals in here too. They're much more highly rostered than these other three teams, though. So they may or may not be available in your league, but they're a good stream this week too if they are.
Well, I guarantee you we'll be talking about them on the DFS show this week.
Probably. Yeah,
more than
and the Commanders as well, right? The Commanders defense definitely. I'll be looking. Oh yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody who rode with us today. It was quite the show. We're hoping that you can advance this week, get into round 2 of your fantasy playoffs, get into those semifinals, and we're here this week to help you. Join myself and Herms tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I will be here on Thursday with Casey Kasem, 5 p.m. Eastern, for the podcast live. We're going to roll through start sits every matchup. We've got waiver wire pickups, so a little bit of betting because that stuff's fun too. And then Friday, Mike and I will be back here at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for DFS Live. We'll have all of our main slate picks for you. Maybe some of the guys we talked about today might get a little more tantalizing as the week comes up. And then after that, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have Q&A live with myself and Mr. Keith Fleming. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Subscribe to the Optimus Fantasy Football channel. Even as the season is winding down, we're going to have a ton of off-season dynasty draft content. We are sending a team to the Senior Bowl to cover that for you guys this year. We're going to be at the Combine and the draft as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're here to help you win this year, win the off-season, and win in 2025.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's going to do it for us, guys. For Mike Reedy, I am Nate Polvogt. Good luck in Week 15. Win that waiver wire, and I'll see you tomorrow.